evening, everybody. All right, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And Mr. Moore, did you get my email about your honors project?
Um, I did, and I didn't get like the details or anything like that.
All right, 'cause I know we talked. I'll email it to you. What I need you to do this evening.
All right, got you.
All right. Jamari Adams. Nadia Bell. Nadia Bell. Nope. Samaya Blunt.
Here.
Tierra Brady. Antonio Brown. DeAndre Burgess. Jamise Burns. Ebony Chavis.
Here.
Jada Ellerby. Sharnay Ewing. Abby Feith. Lexus Fields.
Here.
Brandon Foster.
I'm here.
Jalen Good. Sydney Graham. Tavia Holly. Kiswana Houston.
I'm here.
Kiera Jefferson. Aaliyah Johnson.
Here.
Robert Jordan. Sierra Knox. Kevney Lomax.
Here.
Elisa Maldonado. Elisa Maldonado. Sincere Mays.
Here.
Nasir McDaniel Moore. All right, Brandon Merritt. All right, Terry Miles.
Here.
Mary Monroe. Aaliyah Moore.
Here.
Ariel Moore.
I'm here.
Daniel Moore. I got you. I talked to you earlier. Aaron Orr.
I'm here.
Got you. Ramia Parker.
Here.
Asia Pennick. Asia Pennick. Kiera Porter. Raven Rayner. Gabrielle Rodriguez.
Here.
Quadasia Sharp. Quadasia Sharp. Tamara Sheely. Ariel Sherrod.
Here.
Simone Tunstall. Simone.
Here.
Jeremy Vick. Kerry Watkins.
I'm here.
Talika Yates.
Here.
And Alana Young Maddox. Alana Maddox. Okay. All right. We are drawing closer to the end of the semester. So of course you guys had off last week because it was voting day, so it was a holiday. And okay, chapter 14 was released on the 4th and discussion board number 3. Let me check. Did everyone get a chance to do the discussion board? That might have caught some of y'all by surprise, even though it's in the syllabus over there.
Yeah, I did it.
I actually missed the deadline, but if I can't make it up, I understand.
That was kind of a weird placement, so I know a lot. Let me see if I got to do it. Yeah, I got 28 out of 45 participants. I'll open it up until midnight tomorrow night.
Thank you.
So it'll be up until what today's the 10th, the 11th at 11:59 p.m. So do y'all get email? Y'all do get emails telling you when
We do.
Yeah, we do.
We do.
okay. All right, so discussion board number 3 is back up until tomorrow at 11:59. I do realize that was because I know normally we would have met that Tuesday, and it would have been, but of course y'all had last Tuesday off, so um there was no reminder, even though 28 out of 45 you didn't need reminding, but it's cool. All right, I'll put an announcement to let everybody else know it's back up as well. But all right, so we had discussion board number you got chapter 14 lecture and discussion board number 3. Tonight we're gonna talk about the chapter 14, and you have that last reading assignment you have to do. So their last reading assignment is I call it the OTB, the outside the book lecture. I posted a PDF. It was actually an older textbook, the textbook I used to use for this class. That was the last chapter of that textbook was a textbook that I really liked, and I wanted to teach it again. I wanted to keep teaching that chapter. So I provided a PDF of that chapter so you can pull it up and read it. So read that, and also so I gave you the PDF for that, and let's see, my lecture is also my lecture on YouTube is also posted for that OTB, or outside the book lecture. Also, my cumulative course review lecture is up, so that's pretty much me talking about the entire course. So wrapping it all up. That's going to be up is tomorrow as well. So tomorrow at 7 a.m. The outside the book material and the lecture will be up, and the cumulative course review, and it's also going to be a final exam review as well. So it's going to talk about the final exam. So then, of course, next Tuesday, we meet for a Zoom discussion, the last Zoom discussion. I'll do another, just a kind of go over the cumulative course review and the final exam review as well. I'll also talk about a little bit more about the outside the book discussion. But, and I'll reiterate that in a minute. But for tonight, talking about chapter 14 of the textbook, and that's when we talk about specialized or specialty courts. So a lot of you have different types of specialty courts. Hold on. Got some chat here. All right, what did you say? What am I opening, Aaron? I reopened the discussion board. Did that answer your question, Aaron? Okay. And I got you, Sierra Knox. Who before I start talking, who else came in? Let me get Sierra Knox. I think Nasir came in, right? McDaniel Moore.
Yes, sir.
Who else?
Robert Jordan.
All right, Robert Jordan. Anyone else come in late? All right. So chapter 14 of the textbook talks about the history behind specialty courts. So we talk about specialty courts. We talk about courts that are either specialized because of the subject matter of the cases that are being prosecuted, or because of the type of either victim or defendant that's in the courtroom. Normally not even victim, mostly it's about the type of defendant that's in the courtroom. So in certain jurisdictions, you have like domestic violence courts. That is what I would call a subject matter specialization court. So it's specialized based upon the subject matter of the cases that are in there. So they're domestic violence courts. So that means they're just hearing domestic violence cases. So what happens, so in Guilford County, we do not have a specialized domestic violence court. What we have is a district attorney, or maybe 2 or 3 district attorneys that are like the domestic violence team in district court, and they handle those cases. So it's they're tasked with keeping up with the files, calling victims, and preparing for trial or preparing to prosecute the case. So there's not one courtroom for that. It's actually handled in the same courtroom as everything else, all the other misdemeanors, criminal misdemeanors in district court. So with that setup, sometimes it's hard, because they're in line with everything else. They're not specialized in their own courtroom. Sometimes it's hard getting to all the domestic violence cases. So the vast majority of them, well, I won't say the vast majority of them, but some domestic violence cases are dismissed just because they essentially sometimes run their course, and by the time the district attorney is able to prosecute it, um, the case is gone stale. So at this point, sometimes even the victim and the defendant are back together. Now they don't want to cooperate with the prosecution, which in my opinion is their choice, or either the victim has moved on and doesn't want to come to court now or whatever. Even if they're subpoenaed, they might have moved away or moved out of state, and neither party cares about it anymore. So a lot of times that's what happens. But in Forsyth County, a neighbor to the west, um, they actually have a specialized domestic violence court. So in that courtroom, that's all they handle is domestic violence cases. So you have the DA that runs that courtroom, and literally, as a matter of fact, the way they set it up, the defendants, and the reason I say defendants and not man and woman is because, of course, domestic violence also includes same sex relationships, parental relationships. So it's not always romantic or dating relationships. Anyone that's family or they live in the same household, whether it's romantic or not, that is classified as domestic violence. So in that courtroom, they essentially split the courtroom in half. So the defendants sit on this side and the alleged victims sit on this side. So that essentially prevents them from coming to court and then working together, or well, not necessarily working together. Of course, the district attorney's office always has this fear that the victims in their cases are going to be intimidated or something like that by the person they're in court with. So they want to alleviate that problem and separate everyone. But in that courtroom, they still have trials. The trials go the same way. Of course, it's still the same burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. And of course, the prosecutor who's prosecuting the cases has every right to. They have prosecutorial discretion on how to prosecute the cases, um, whether to give the person a first offender program, or what we call it a conditional discharge agreement, where they can do something, anger management, and in return come back, case is dismissed, or whether they prosecute, a person pleads guilty. And of course, we talked about in earlier chapters about how we do plea deals and how plea deals are discussed and arranged, or I guess negotiated. So all that happens. And then of course they're taken care of in that same court. That way, because that court is just about domestic violence cases, um, a fewer number of the cases get left behind. Um, the problem with singling out those type of cases in the courtroom is there other types of cases by subject matter that should be prosecuted as well. Like, how do we pick what subject matter to have a special court on, and what not to? So you have like in Guilford County, we have a DUI court. So because those cases can get backlogged so bad, we have a courtroom where we know we're going to try to go to trial on these cases. So why is domestic violence court any less important than domestic violence court, right? So or why is DWI court any less important than domestic violence court? So that's what you kind of run into. So a lot of times, like in Guilford County, for the most part, we handle our misdemeanors in one courtroom and our traffic cases in one courtroom. But then you also have other specialized courts where where the cases are specialized, not based on any special subject matter, but based on the defendant that's in court. So you have drug court, And drug court is not always just about drug possession cases. Sometimes it's about regular criminal cases where the person that is alleged to have committed a crime is also alleged to have a drug problem. So drug addicts don't just commit drug offenses. If they're addicts, sometimes they commit other offenses because they're drug addicts. So of course the court system wants to look into um, how to not stringently prosecute certain groups of people that fit into a category because of an addiction, and how to maybe set something up where it can almost be what I say court supervised treatment for whatever problem they have. If it is a drug problem, now they can kind of seek treatment for it. And they have a probation officer. So of course the book talks about the history of drug courts, and it started in Florida in the early '80s. And how now it's most jurisdictions, almost every state has some form of a drug treatment court. We call it DTC, drug treatment court. You also have mental health courts where it's about the defendant and their mental health status. Maybe these people aren't necessarily criminals, but they're people that might need guidance or supervision over taking their prescribed mental health medication, and staying on track with that. Because some people are perfect; they'll do what they're supposed to do as long as they're on their mental health medication. So they've been diagnosed with a mental health ailment, but if they refuse to take their medication, that means now they're unstable, and of course they're only a threat to everyone else, or not even necessarily always a threat. Sometimes they're just a nuisance, but because they're not on their medication. So sometimes with mental health court, it's all about medication management, having the probation officers making sure um, that these defendants or these people are taking their medication and becoming productive members of society. Um, what else? Certain jurisdictions have veterans courts. So you have there's a group of people that are charged with crimes, and they're essentially categorized and kind of singled out because of their status as veterans. People that have served in the military that might have come out and they're low. Either they have now what we didn't recognize back in the day, post-traumatic stress disorder or mental health issues dealing with their time in the military, or financial issues because they've gotten out of the military, don't have benefits, so they've kind of turned to crime. Um, so um, so yeah, in certain jurisdictions you have specialized veterans courts. Normally, those courts are usually in places where there are military bases. There may be one in West Fayetteville, Cumberland County, because of course they have a military base. So normally you wouldn't see those in jurisdictions where there's not a military base nearby within the jurisdiction. But that's also a type of specialty court meant to um, provide treatment or some type of intervention before prosecution. Now, of course, upon being entered into that specialty court program, um, an agreement is made that says, okay, and for in return for us offering you this opportunity to go to instead of going to jail or even being prosecuted at all or being convicted, um, in return for not being convicted or prosecuted or even sentenced to jail, we're going to give you the opportunity to serve on this special probation when you come back to specialty court every so often to check in. We're going to hold you accountable and not prosecute you. But if you fail to do so, then you're going to be subject to the punishment. Um, so that's how it works. It's almost like your punishment is held over your head as an incentive for the defendant to do the right thing and do well and get better. So that's the general purpose of specialty courts, because everything is not necessarily worth being prosecuted. There's some people, actually, a lot of people that commit crimes aren't doing so because they're just bad people, but they're in life circumstances have led them to making mistakes, feeling like they have to do different things to earn a living. So I tell people you don't know hungry until 'cause a lot of people, I don't know anybody's background, But of course, young college students, I've been there before, where I mean, in my college time, hungry was not having anything in the refrigerator and wondering, if I could scrape up $2.14 and run around to Miss Winters and get that two-piece dart, two thighs, it's more meat. Um, you think about that, it was like, well, we was living ghetto fabulous and ramen noodles, that to us, that was hungry. But that's not really hungry, relatively speaking. There's some people who literally walk past a trash can and see food, a food bag, and they say, hey, maybe it's worth a try. Maybe there's scraps in there that someone else is eating off of that would be better than my stomach being empty. So if you never had to make that decision, you ain't hungry. There's some people that make decisions because they are really what I call hungry. And a lot of times if we out here flaunting our bread, and sometimes a person hit you over the head to get that loaf of bread because they really are hungry, and you were about to waste it, right? So a lot of times we have these court, I tell people aren't necessarily evil. It's just the circumstance they're in, and they feel like they don't have a choice. So a lot of times crimes are committed as a matter of, when a person's in despair, they're desperate. That's chapter, of course, chapter 14, when you read it, there's a little bit more, it goes into more detail. My actual lecture on chapter 14 also goes into more detail. So I would advise you, if you haven't, you should have done so before class tonight, but if you haven't, catch up on chapter 14, read it, and look at the lecture. So that's chapter 14. Let me see. Okay, yeah, we're on the Zoom now. Talking about, okay. Once again, for all you who came in late, I did put discussion board 3 back up because I realized it landed on a day after we didn't have class at all. So there was no, I mean, even though you got emails, a lot of people, I realized a lot of you guys, but I just had to get over it. You guys need reminders these days. So boys got to hold your hand a little bit. It just is what it is. I know it's crazy. You guys are used to being in class where I can get on your nerves in person and tell you, hey, discussion board's up. Matter of fact, if we were in person, there wouldn't even be a discussion board anyway. Because for this class, there's actually a group project when I teach it in person. So a lot of the stuff that you've been asked to do in the virtual platform that this class is being taught on wouldn't be done if the class is held in person. So I had to think about that before I go out here try to pull my axe out and start chopping grades. So I'm going to so the discussion board, the final discussion board. This is the final little chance at 5 little points you can get. Will be posted. It's still posted as I just opened it back up. And will be posted until tomorrow evening, the 11th at 11:59 p.m. So if you have not done so yet, and there are people on this chat that might not have done it, right? Jump on tonight. Why I'm literally we're about to only be on here about 35 minutes or whatever. About to get off this while you at your phone or some of you on your laptop. Why not just open the discussion board right now and do it? Just ask you some questions. You can go to the book to get the answers, or answer the best you can off the dome. You know what I mean? Just see what you can do, and do the discussion board, and you'll get credit. It's just about participation and your best try. So I do read your answers. But I want to make sure you're actually attempting and trying to answer the question, and going to the book for the answer. Or at least if you're not going to the book, you've already read and you feel like you can just give me the answer. That's it for this week. And I'm also going to put the announcement out that the discussion board is back up until tomorrow night at 11:59. This week's reading, I'll say it again, it's the Outside the Book lecture. I've posted the material that you need to read will be posted tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and my lecture will be posted as well. Also, I'll post my cumulative course review and final exam review as well. So after you do the Outside the Book reading and lecture, you can also click on my link to the cumulative course review. So it's going to talk about what we learned, not very quickly, kind of chapter by chapter. I'm not going to spoon feed it all again, but we're going to talk about it's kind of the semester in review. I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the final exam in that lecture as well. So we come back next week on the 17th, and that's our final Zoom discussion. And that's where I'll talk about the outside the book lecture, of course, answer any questions, and I will be doing a cumulative review and final exam review, a brief one of the course of this semester. So we'll talk about the final exam, what's on it, and everything. Any questions at this point?
No.
All right. So I'll see you guys next Tuesday. That'll be the 17th. So please go ahead and get things done. You know what assignments to do. If you haven't done the discussion board, go ahead and jump on and do it. You know, while we got your attention, right? While you need your laptop, go ahead and get it done. And do the reading for this week. So you guys be good, all right?
Thank you. Have a good one.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good one.
Take care.
Wait, I want to see the comments.